When to eat?
Dude, it's not till like 8 o'clock tonight.
What?
I know. Well, because I wanted to sit in on the thing. I was trying to participate.
You got to let the vendors harass the shop owners till 8 p.m. We need that time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the other. It was a vendor show or whatever.
That's awful nice of you.
I know. I regret it. I so deeply regret it. I'm so hungry. I want to go eat.
Do you find the vendor halls, do they interest you these days? You go in, peek around, see what the cool stuff is?
Lucas and I have been telling you about PartsTech for a while now, and how it gives you access to unlimited parts and tire vendors and direct integration with over 35 shop management systems. And now they've just launched a new referral program. All you have to do is open your PartsTech account, go to My Shop, and click on the Rewards tab. There you'll find your referral URL, which you can share via email, text message, or on your social media. If your referral signs up for a new account and places 5 orders in the first 30 days, PartsTech will send you a $100 gift card. That's it, nothing else is needed. Your referrals can get you $100 just for using PartsTech, which, by the way, is absolutely free to get started with. So if you're using PartsTech already, start sharing that referral link. And if you haven't signed up for PartsTech yet, what are you waiting for? Click on the link in the description or go to partstech.com/podcast. That's partstech.com/podcast.
Yes. Especially when there's time to actually talk to people and like see.
No, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Well, my thing is like when I go to the shows, one of the things that I don't like is when they're so busy. Like I see something I like, but every time I go by, they were talking to somebody. So I never get a chance to like understand the product.
What's catching your eyes these days?
I'm still a tool junkie, right? I still like tools a lot. And so I see scan tools and I see things like that. And I'm like, dude, I really like that. I like technology.
Yeah. Scan tools that's where the major leaps in technology are coming these days when it comes to the tools part.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, like OE scan tools and all the little creature comfort
getting
tools.
dumbed down. That's what it is.
They're getting dumbed down?
Yeah, they're getting dumbed down because they're like, hey, your cell phone can now run all of the OE software. Like we've got it now that you can take your cell phone, put this little dongle in.
That's true. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of stuff that's
good technology.
That's what I'm talking about.
Not really.
I like it.
You want them faster. That's for sure. You want them touchscreen and fast. But for whatever reason, they're like, hey, we're going to use these tablets from 7 years ago, and that's what we're going to run. The Samsung Tab A. That's going to be the infrastructure for our for our scan tool. That's what they're all doing.
Yeah. It seems like most technologies these days, it feels like the point of it is to allow you to compete better with dealerships. Is that a good way that you think technology should be advancing? Because even with...
Who's saying that? Are you saying that?
No, I mean, scan tools giving you the ability to kind of do some of the OE stuff that...
Well, but I mean, here's the thing that...
Hey, Stephen Fafel, how you doing from AutoOps?
I thought it was Fafel.
So there's been...
You gonna bring that up again?
Been wild debates on this for a long time. I just have to give up something.
We hashed it out in the last podcast. Numbnuts over here is like...
We hashed it off air. We fought for like an hour before we got on. And then I was like, can you please call me by my name, please?
No, I can't. Listen, Jade literally stands at the front counter half of the time.
You don't?
Laughing at me, saying, that's not how they say their name. And I'm like, it says right there, Boner. And she says, that's not Boner, that's Bogner. Oh. But it has a GH.
That's where customer retention starts.
Pronouncing
their name correctly.
Yeah. Hey, Miss Boner. No, I'm joking.
If you say it with the accent, it sounds homey and endearing. But if I say, "Hey, Mr. Boner, how you doing?" I look like an a-hole.
You can get away with so much stuff. You can get away with
so much garbage with your stupid accent. So much. It's obnoxious.
I think that they try to create an illusion that aftermarket scan tools can do what OE tools can do. Some aftermarket tools can do what OE tools can do, but the strategy they use is to use the OE tool through that tool, right? You will never convince me that an aftermarket tool has the same abilities or capabilities as an OE tool because it was designed to do that, right? And so it might work on multiple different cars, But you got to think you're taking a tool and you're building it for 100 cars, 200 cars, right? And there might be different year ranges in that, but the concept is very similar to the control structures, the way they wire their cars, the way they set up the control systems is similar from car to car to car. And they might, hey, it's just like, you buy the new Samsung and there's 2 different processors you could have in it.
Sure.
Well, so they understand like, hey, these are my 2 options. So like I pull a car up, for instance, like a Ford, and it has build as data, right? I have the ability to go look at that because I'm paying for the OE subscription and I know that information. So I know what I'm doing, right? Whereas aftermarket scan tools are not like that. If it is genuinely an aftermarket tool that is using aftermarket protocols and aftermarket software, they have to take the information from the manufacturer. They can't copy it, but they have to take it and they can buy it, but then they have to make it their own. They have to reverse engineer it to a degree. And then they put it in that tool. Well, if you're gonna have a product that works on 3,000 cars, how much time are you going to put into that? And do you put so much time into it that it becomes obsolescent by the time it comes out because you practice on all these 3,000 cars to make sure it works? So now that's what David would do.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure out how shops really think about the dealership model, because even what we're doing with online scheduling, that stuff was available. And when we did at AutoOps, it was industry leading. It was available in dealerships 5 years ago.
So I think there's fears in the aftermarket because we don't have the infrastructure to be able to handle conventional mass scheduling. So in other words, if I go out there and as a shop owner, the first thing when we implemented online scheduling, one of the first things that we considered would happen is, what if 50 people show up and schedule all at once? And I didn't realize that I could build rules and systems around it to where it didn't allow that. But I think that's the first thing shop owners think about is I'll have a bunch of people. I won't be able to explain to them the cost associated with what we're going to do. I won't be able to show them that there's a cost associated. I won't be able to control the workflow in the shop. And
that gets into the commoditization, which you had talked about before and that's where, is that when dealerships, are they commoditizing their service where it's just like, hey, easy peasy, we don't need to just come on in? And
in some ways,
yes.
In some ways, yeah.
Not some ways, in every way. They are 100% doing that.
And if you look at their pay plans for their service advisors, it is literally a system which says, we need you to produce. We need you to sell.
That's how they are with the technicians. Everything is commission-based in the dealership world. Everything is commission-based. So it's who can get out to the car the fastest, who can get them checked in the quickest, who's going to be able to work with the technicians the easiest to sell as much as possible. Everything is commission-based, so everything is commoditized. I was reading What's-His-Nuts' book, Chris Collins. He was talking about how they introduced the quick lane into the dealerships. The whole intent behind adding the quick lane was to pack in more cars into the dealership and guarantee them a 15-minute oil change. And say, so they don't care. It's 120 cars that are going to come in on a Saturday. And they're like, well, it's whatever. How are you providing a good service in 15 minutes? The customer doesn't know. They just want the car in the door. So you have to remember the main drive from every bit of research that I've done, the main drive, and they don't say this, right? And they don't even tell their service directors this. They don't tell their parts directors this. The main drive, right? What's the money maker for the dealership? They'll say service, but it's equity mining for them. They want the data. Why do they move that many cars? Well, because every one of those is an opportunity to sell a car.
Yeah.
And so that you look at some of these platforms that collect the data when we service a car. I know for a fact I have had clients who then got letters or promotions or telephone calls from dealerships in my area who then would say, we know you were talking about making repairs to your car. We've got a great deal going on right now. You can probably replace your car, have a nice new car, and we'll give you this for your car. It's going to come out to be a much better deal. Now, at the end of the day, it's not a better deal.
And we're not going to say Carfax's name, right? We're not going to say that.
I wasn't going to
say that.
I wasn't saying Carfax's name.
It's probably not even Carfax. It's probably full throttle through Carfax or
Do you know who owns?
Quick question on this side.
Is that what it is?
Quick question on this side, and this is, you know what, you guys, you get to join the AutoOps product development team. I'll go back to, because I actually want to ask a question about commission, but when it comes to working with data, if we're working with data, especially for decoding VINs, should we go PartsTech?
I think so.
Great.
PartsTech and RepairLink have the best decoders out there, right? And so the key for me is the more information I have when we decode. In other words, like,
are they using a different system than what Carfax uses?
I'm not sure.
Doesn't Shop-Ware use Carfax? Yeah. I thought Carfax was it. I didn't know that there were
there's
different
others.
options.
Yeah, there's others.
That's what, because we're trying to look for other options, especially, we don't feel like giving up your customer's data to get sold a new car from a dealership. So we're
and that
looking into
happens.
new stuff. Going back to what you're saying about, do you guys do anything based on commission at your shop? And if you do,
this is going to suck.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean,
he does, yes, I don't know.
Here's the deal, is that I really believe that no commission is a great way to treat employees well. I think that's huge. However,
it takes a special breed of employee to make it work.
And if you get into a situation, people will get comfortable. And comfortable is not even right. Comfortable is not the word. Complacent is the word.
Yeah.
That they will expect more and more, and they will demand more and more of you, but they won't ever produce.
Yeah.
And they will never look at it as, I have responsibility for this. And so if you have someone who is wholly responsible for the revenue they make, and it's crazy because you can look at this in a lot of ways, right? Like technicians right now are talking about they want to be paid more. And a lot of blue collar workers are.
Sure.
I think we should say that right now because we talk about it, that we looked at that study and it's like, what are parents, what are peers recommending as a career? And we thought that auto repair would be down at the very bottom of that because of the way everybody talks about it. No, it's slap in the middle. And if you listen to everybody else, they're saying the same thing about welding. They're saying the same thing about these other jobs, unless it's used in the context to attack automotive and say, well, welders get paid. Right? But when you really dig in and you see the way that others are paid, blue collar workers as a whole want more. And I really believe that they deserve more. The consumer has to be able to afford more. And the problem being is if we just give, and give, you can over give to the point that it's dangerous for the employee. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
I've done it. Because
I'd rather take some than lose a job because no one's coming in.
Well, it could be that, but it's also that it might not be sustainable for the employee, right? And we've had this huge discussion. We've upset a lot of people over the past couple of months because we're talking about things that are kind of like, you shouldn't be able to dictate what I use my money for. You shouldn't be able to tell me that I deserve less or more or any of that. But the problem is that you have to provide value for that, right? Like as a business owner, you know what happens if you don't provide value. I remember the Gary Vaynerchuk thing. You remember that? Gary Vaynerchuk's talking about the coffee cup, and he's like, it doesn't make a flying fuck if nobody wants your damn coffee cup, right? Like your product is a coffee cup, and if nobody's buying coffee cups, then you're going to go broke. That's how that works. As an entrepreneur, you've got to make something that people want.
Yeah, and I think the big part on commission, and I've been thinking about this recently, we're hiring some salespeople. I think, you need to make sure that it's the type of person that is going to handle that responsibility properly. If this is the type of person that's going to go sell crappy service just to get a commission, then you need to reevaluate. And there's some employees that are motivated and will perform better for your company and for the customer, better on different pay structures. But I think the most key in part, and where some people can get it wrong, is where do you put the commission? Because if you just put the commission on, like I have someone up front who just like sells this big job and they don't have to worry about it ever.
Yeah.
And if it goes wrong, it's this guy's issue down that. But if you tie it to, something later in the process, for us, a big thing, even when we're working with people, is I want you to book a demo and have a conversation with the customer. I don't need you hard selling them. I don't want to put your commission in a way where it's like you're hard selling them just to close a sale. You're going to talk about features that may not exist. Listen, if you can get on a call with someone and have a good conversation, that's all I ask. So that's kind of where we try to put.
Well, I mean, so it's almost like saying, okay, your commission starts 3 months in of their subscription. I pay you a monthly off of their subscription, right? And so a system that and
yeah, that's a great point.
I think commission is important, right? I really do. I think that there has to be some sweat equity involved because of situations that I've been through, right? I really do.
You've been through. You have no idea, dude. You have no idea. You have no idea. And here's the thing. I hate commission. I absolutely hate it. I hate it in the automotive industry. It's ruined the automotive industry.
I agree.
Every problem we have in the automotive industry, I think can get tied back to some commission-based.
You're just saying because it gets sloppy, someone trying to make a check up front.
No, I mean, it's exploited the technicians to a certain degree. Service advisors are now considered not advocates or advisors. They're considered salespeople.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not selling hard enough. Go sell harder. What is it you're selling? Either the car's broken or it's not. That's it. This car either needs a maintenance or not, or it doesn't. Like, what is it? It's A or B. It's not in between nuance. Let's get you into this. It's not like selling a car. You don't need the car. You don't need the car.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't need the Camry. You can buy the Corolla. Why do you need the Camry? Oh, I'm going to sell you on the Camry. I'm going to sell you on the Avalon. I'm going to get you up to the nicer package. I'm going to then sell you the extended warranty. You don't need the warranty, the extended warranty, but I'm going to sell it to you. You see what I'm saying? So I need to convince you that little desire you've got in the back of your head to have this status, to drive that nice new car, to have the smell.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that becomes the loudest voice in your head, and then you act on it. Okay, that's not what's happening in automotive. Do you need spark plugs? Is it time for them? Yes or no? No? Then you don't need them. What am I selling you on them for?
I mean, here, you know how mine works. I'm trying to base it off of base proficiency, right? I'm trying to base it off of.
You're trying to toe the line. You're a fence sitter. I'm telling you that the only problem with going straight, like set pay, and then something on the back end for the entire team. That's how I've structured it. Something on the back end for the entire team. If I win, we all win, and then we can all participate in the success. Okay. The problem with it is it's complacency. I'm making this much. There's no opportunity to make more without having to have a conversation with the owner and saying, hey, I want to pick this up, or hey, I want to go in this slightly different direction, or hey, I want to move, I want to buy a house, whatever. And then that will then dictate the salary. That whole structure has never happened before. It just doesn't happen. But
here's what I'm saying. So you work 8 hours a day, right? If you work 8 hours a day, I believe you should be able to generate 8 hours of production if we're billing properly. And if you have some type of something tied to that, as opposed to just getting paid hourly or a salary, I believe that because they don't see direct results that week if it's on the back end. And so those direct results that week affect and drive how they are. Now, here's the thing, is it takes the right person. I'm thinking about what you're talking about with AutoOps. And I'm thinking about Monique, right? What's interesting about Monique is Monique loves Shop-Ware. Shop-Ware is Monique's baby, right? She really cares about it. She's a salesperson. Well, I don't think she's in product development now, but she genuinely cares about the product.
Monique's awesome.
Yeah, and she genuinely cares about the people who use the product. And so she is an advocate for those people, and she wants to help those people, and she wants to help the product. And so giving Monique, let's take her as it's none of my business how she's paid or any of that. I don't know any of that. But my point is that if you take her and you provide her a commission, she will generate wealth based on her love for the product. And it's just an extra reward for that.
Okay, but that works in software.
Well, and I mean, here's my thought in a shop. And yeah, I do agree. If you line it up with the right person who actually loves the product, actually cares about the customer, give them a commission, and then it's just more people knowing about a product they should love.
Yeah.
In a shop, two parts of it. I understand your thing, and I think what you're saying is when people are forced to upsell things that they shouldn't be upselling, that's where we get all these trust issues that have been built up in the aftermarket. Yep. So that's a huge issue. Something that we've come across, and I've heard a ton of shop owners be like, I really like AutoOps and online scheduling because I have an advisor at the front. When someone calls in and it's 4:30 and they're like, yeah, we can get you in a few days, where it's like, I want to find a way to motivate people like my service advisors. Yeah, I think commission is one way where it's like, actually they're trying their best to just get someone in the shop who really wants to come in the shop.
Yeah.
So, and that's where online scheduling, they're like, I've heard shoppers be like, I don't trust my service advisor to like book, not overbook, just to book it up.
That's my point. Like that person
You're just saying that just shouldn't be a
working.
service advisor.
No, that person should be gone. And here's the thing, like that person should work at the shop that wants to go full commission. I don't begrudge these like shop fix shops that just go straight commission on everybody. Everybody's there to sell. The technician's trying to sell what they do. The service advisor's trying to sell, and everybody's got a piece of the pie. And then that's it. That's just how they operate. That's fine. That person that can't be bothered to do the right thing and get that person scheduled in because it's 4:30, they're about to leave, that person should go work there and not at my shop.
Yeah.
Because, hey, whether you get them in or you don't, you get paid the same. But here's the thing. We all suffer if you don't get that car in the door. That technician's not going to have any work. We're going to run out of work, which might seem like a great idea. But guess what? In about 2 weeks, we're going to be strapped for cash. That car should have been in the door. That's a $700 sale because that's our ARO is $700. So if we get that car in the door, that's another $700 in the door. And you know we need to hit these numbers for everybody to win. That should be all playing in the back of your head every single time that phone rings. And if it's not playing in the back of your head, you don't need to work for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But the argument's always been, it's like, oh, that's a really small percentage of the yeah, okay, fine.
It makes it substantially harder to properly staff a shop.
Yeah, you're not going to scale up to 10 shops. Like, dude, fine. I don't want to scale up to 10 shops. Maybe I just want to have one shop with 4, 5, 6, 7 people like that inside the shop that just understand, hey, I want to enjoy where I want to go work. I want to be able to go do cool things. I want to be able to travel around the country, go to cool training shows. And we're just here to fix cars. And that's it. Like, the owner's not running off to get his second bass boat. Like, he's not. He doesn't care. He wants to provide for his family. I want to provide for my family. We're just here to all help each other out and do a good job. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's, and because I've been starting to hear more and more, there's definitely a little bit of a split on shop owners, and I'm starting to see the divide more. People are just like, listen, I want to have my one shop. I want everyone to enjoy. I want to travel around, go train. And then there's the shop owners who are like, I want 10 shops. I want
their whole drive. Well, I mean, there are people in the world who that is their drive, is that massive amount of success and that overburdened success. It's really interesting. I've got a really good friend who's uber wealthy, fantastic human being. And I've watched him, and I'm not going to say that wealth is not important to him. He's partially, he took a fortune and built a much larger fortune.
Sure.
Right. And so his business partner passed away, and he was like 48, had a heart attack, fell over dead. And he was like, dude, I think I want to live my life. Right. And so, like, if it means I make less money, now at this point, this is a completely different argument of less money, right? We're talking about which $40 million jet do I want to make sure I don't pay taxes this year? Not do I want a $40 million jet, right? But I guess my point is that his humbleness comes back to the fact that he recognized it wasn't money that was going to generate happiness. It wasn't multiple locations. It wasn't multiple businesses that would generate happiness. And when I watched him kind of go through this transformation and we talked about these things, I thought it was interesting to watch the fact that it was things that he was filling his life with that he enjoyed doing because he didn't want to be bored. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to like chasing this success to this next level, it was really just tasks to fill that time that he enjoyed, something to tinker with.
Yeah. I mean, that's for me. I don't, I just like the challenge. I don't care if there's $5. I don't care if there's $5 million. It just doesn't really affect me. I'd take either, but the challenge isn't there, then.
Well, see, that's me. And like my wife and I got in this argument the other day because we were talking about multiple locations. And I was like, I really like the idea of if we maximize this shop, going to multiple locations. And she's like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And I'm like, well, why not? And she said, because I think we do this until you retire and build the podcast up and do the things that you do, and then retire and sell the shop and do what you want to do. But like, I don't want to do the multiple shop things. For me, it's the challenge to know if I can do it. For me, it's I need that next step in front of me. I need like something to go to. David is not even trying to do any of that. He'll just sit at home and eat his honey buns. No, you don't.
And I think some of it, it's where you find challenge, because some people find the challenge is how can I find 8 fantastic employees and give them all fantastic lives? And it's like that's challenge where it's like the other ones where it's like, how many people could I support? Could I do it on the business side? Could I have, and there's benefit of, hey, I just employed 50 people. I mean, some people you can be driven in a positive way and have 10 shops. Yeah, I think I personally think enjoying the challenge is always a good way to go about it instead of looking at the dollar signs.
Do you think we start in one place morally and end up somewhere else morally because of that?
That's a good question.
The answer is yes.
I think some of it depends on your background and what everyone else is doing around you. Because I think, like my background, I was living car to car, most rock climbing, skiing.
Yeah.
That was like really what I find fun. So like I think if I strike it big and we're in 50,000 shops, that's kind of what I want to go back to. For some people who it's like, if they start out young and their parents were billionaires and they were crushing it and they had the same mindset, they're like, I want the challenge. It's a lot easier to fall back into like, okay, now I made my money. Look at what my parents and everyone, what I truly like doing before this was like living lavishly. So I think it depends on some of your background a little bit.
So it's interesting because I've got this client who's a rock climber and he's a EMT and paramedic. And so we're kind of in like this hippie central, right? Like App State and that kind of corner is known for being like that. And it's cool because a lot of those people there, and hippies kind of caught a bad name, but if you looked at them, their belief system is like, hey, I'm going to enjoy life. Like my focus is enjoying life. And then whatever comes after that is what comes after that. And so like his thing is I want to do things that like let me rock climb. So he sold rock climbing equipment. And he became a paramedic. So he became more valuable when everybody went out to climb. So he would get paid to go to events to climb. And like
when everyone got hurt and fell, he could fix them up.
Exactly. And so like his thing is like to him, it wasn't even necessarily the money, but the money from that provided him enough opportunity to be able to survive doing what he wanted to do. But that he was content in that, right? He didn't need more than that. It wasn't a lot of money. It wasn't a salary that a lot of people would consider. We'd talk about technicians like, I need $100,000 a year, at least $100,000 a year. Well, this dude's making 50 and he's content. And then on the other side of that, you see people who they want to go for more and more and more and more, and it never stops. Yeah. They always want more, and they always have to push to that next level. And there's a instructor who I've sat in some of their classes, and they talk about this process of bringing people into the shop. And they talk about the fact the shop is packed full, right? And it's 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. We close at 5, and the shop is completely packed full, and they're in their shop. And this gentleman comes in and says, I need an oil change. And the advisor says, hey, I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to get you in. Right? We'll get you an appointment for Monday. And the guy says, no, I can't wait till Monday. I'll come back, some other time or something. But, I can't wait. I'm going to go somewhere. And so they go out to this person who teaches a class. When that person walks out, they terminate their service advisor for doing that. They walk out into the parking lot and give the man a coupon and say, I'll do your oil change for free. Bring the car in and we'll do it right now. So now they disrupt the entire service flow, and they bring the car in, they change the oil, and they say, hey, here's the deal. Is what you want to do when this happens, when you bring this car in real late. You start changing the oil and you tell them about one thing that will make them leave the car. And then once you tell them about the one thing that will make them leave the car, the next thing you do is you get them a ride home, and then you make a report about everything else the car needs and call them and sell those other things later, right? After they have no choice and they're already gone. And it doesn't matter if they come back. You just want to get what you can get from that person right then. And they teach this in a class, right?
I think instructor.
And so here's the problem for me is that I couldn't do that. And that person didn't start there. That person didn't start with that belief. Now, I can see a little bit of that because now that I'm in a bigger shop, I understand what it takes to fill a bigger shop. I understand what it takes to pay for a bigger shop. And I understand if you're going to have multiple shops and you need that revenue, like I could see why that would be important. I could see that to a degree.
Why put yourself in that situation?
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Anyway, I was going to bring up Cameron Haynes. You familiar?
I'm familiar.
You are?
I'm very familiar,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that he talks about that in his book, that he has like a government job. It's like 7 to 3. He's a manager. But he talked about like stacking boxes. He worked in a warehouse. And he would go and he would bust ass, but the only reason why he was working is to make whatever money he could so he could go bow hunt. That's all he wanted to do, was to go bow hunt. He wanted to get really good bow hunting. That's all he obsessed about, bow hunting.
There's two, my uncle drove a truck for years, and I went all over the country with him. And there are two that I can think of, food distributors and Merchant Distributors Incorporated and Rich Foods. And so one of the practices that they would use is there's palletized, and then there's a situation where they stack the truck because they want to get as much in it as they can. So they'll stack boxes in the truck. And at this point in time, they would hire these people to stack those boxes. And I mean, these guys would go on and off. If they were loading pallets, I mean, they would run 4 forklifts as fast as you could go. I mean, they're just like on and off, like fast. And if you walk by the back of the trailer, if you're not paying attention, you're going to get ran over because, I mean, they're flying. I mean, we're talking 40 mile an hour through the middle of a warehouse and just one right after another. And so the first time I saw them stacking boxes, I mean, these are 50-pound boxes of produce, right? The first time I saw them stacking boxes, there were 3 African-American brothers in the back of this truck. And they're refrigerated trucks, so they're cold, and the warehouse is at like 30 degrees. And these cats are in here in short sleeves. And, dude, they unload a 53-foot trailer in like an hour and 12 minutes. And that is absolutely moving. I mean, that's thousands of boxes.
The dude talks about that. He said he just wanted the challenge. Him and his buddy would team up, and who can unstack or stack this many boxes in this much time, and then they would try to beat each other. And he said he did that for years.
Well, so here's the thing: is I'm a young kid at this point. And I'm like, holy crap, these dudes are like killing themselves. I mean, these dudes are ripped, and like they're in here, and it's 30, 40 degrees in here. They're pouring sweat, and they're just absolutely flying. And I asked one, I was like, is this what you guys want to do? Like, this is interesting. This is a new concept, I guess. Dude's like, hey, I want to show you something, little man. And he walks back and he goes over and he takes his wallet out when they're done unloading the truck. He pulls out his pay stub. Dude made like $131,000 stacking boxes, right? And he's like, get paid by the box, baby. Like, that's how this rolls. I get paid by the box. And I mean, they got that hustle. And there's a difference between somebody. I'm telling you right now, I have got employees that I can watch them hustle, and they've got the hustle, and you can see it in their hours, you can see it in their production, you can see it in their quality, and then you can see some that don't have the hustle. And it is
the hustle has nothing to do with the pay plan.
It doesn't have anything to do with the pay plan. Okay. It has to do with the individual.
Yeah, that's my point. That's all I'm saying. The hustle is ingrained in the person.
100%.
And either they have it or they don't.
I see that. I 100% see that. I would rather pay somebody $100,000 salary that has hustle as I would.
Yeah.
There is definitely people though who enjoyed the commission, who are like, listen, yeah. I hustle period no matter what, but I like seeing
we've had people comment.
Tie.
Yeah, we've had people comment and say, I would never work for anything but flat rate. I'm not interested in working on anything but flat rate. Don't want it, won't do it.
Those people are short-sighted because the minute they start having shoulder pain, all of a sudden they're like,
this industry doesn't take care of us.
Yeah, this industry, that's exactly right. The minute all of a sudden they can't reach up over their shoulder like they used to, or bang, something, pop a ball joint off with a sledge because they have elbow pain or whatever, and they're like, oh man, that ends pretty quickly.
Has Eric ever told you about when he like first realized that his hand didn't work? Has he ever told you that story?
No.
So one of my technicians hurt a nerve in his hand, yeah. And he said, He's like, man, he's like, I found out in this really terrible way. He said the boss was across the shop. And he said, I had been like having some elbow pain. And he said, I was swinging a big hammer trying to beat something out of a car. And he's like, I hit. And he's like, the hammer comes out of my hand. And he's like, I didn't even feel it leave my hand. And he said, I turn around and look. And he said, my employer is laying on the floor, grabbing his crotch as this hammer has like left him bruised and damaged, you know? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, dude, don't lie to me. We know it wasn't an accident, right?
That stuff can mess you up.
Not to ruin the party. I gotta go sling some AutoOps at the vendor show. I don't even get a commission. What the heck?
Well, that's I hate to tell you, buddy, but there's this thing called a P&L, and your commission's at the bottom of it.
But honestly, Eliza, I think that is one of the best ways to always, because I think it's good to always reevaluate. Why am I doing this? As much as you can. I've had moments, because listen, everyone gets a little, oh, look at this dot, and you do have to step back. And having good people around you, I have good people around you say, Steven, back up. My mom sits me down for breakfast. Steven, let's take a step back here.
Dude,
look at why we're doing it.
That right there is key. Because I mean, if you knew how many of those situations, we talked about that deal in that video where they were talking about President Trump. And he said, like, hey, this is a really dangerous situation for this man because he's got a persona that people won't stand up to him and tell him that he's wrong. And then on top of that, he's got a situation where everybody's looking up to him and he's uber famous, and all of these like little scenarios come together to where the unraveling of a human being can occur. And he wasn't saying it would occur, or it should occur, or anything like that. I'm not a political guy, but he basically said, like, if you are a person that nobody can approach and tell you that you're wrong, that becomes a dangerous situation, you know?
100%.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for chatting. Always enjoy it.
Yes, sir.